so we might as well get to Jimbo Carter just turned 100.
Yeah, another round of applause for Jimbo.
The big 1-0,
Yep.
yeah. 100.
Yeah.
Congratulations to him.
Congrats. If he's listening, he probably is.
Yeah. He's probably listening, in Georgia. He's probably listening.
Is that where he's from?
Yeah,
he's
in
probably
Georgia.
been to the first Chick-fil-A then.
He probably has. I mean, he's been to
He probably was there when it started.
Yeah, I mean, because when did Chick-fil-A? It couldn't have been more than 100 years ago.
No, yeah.
Yeah. So Jimmy Carter, I didn't think he was. I think everyone kind of thought he wasn't going to make it because back in long enough ago to where it was when we lived together, they announced he was in hospice care now, and he was 98 at that point.
Yeah.
And so I remember I was disappointed because I was it's not like I wasn't sad about the idea of him dying, but it's I was just sad about he's not going to make it to 100. That would have been kind of cool.
Could use the slide there.
Yeah. Oh, he's not. Yeah.
He's not gonna make it to 100. Okay.
But he did. He did make it to 100.
Whoa! Yeah.
So, I'm really blasting in there, so I need to because I can't tell where the sound comes out of.
Yeah, it's
I
probably.
think it's out of
It's probably just destroying the
it's
eardrums.
coming out of there. Okay, so.
Lovely,
Alright, so
lovely.
That's a decent. That's a decent distance.
No, yeah, right on, Jimmy.
Yeah, right on to Jimmy. And then he turned 100 on October 1st, I believe was his birthday. That was pretty cool because we never had a president who made it to 100. I looked it up to fact check.
Yeah, he's the longest or the oldest office holder.
Yeah, I thought it's kind of crazy because the person who had the record for and he still holds it of longest lived presidential candidate ever was 100 but a month older than Jimmy Carter. The guy who ran against FDR in 1936 made it to
so he never held office. He just got.
Yeah. He
was
made
part
it
of the
slightly
election.
past 100, something like that.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Carter might. I mean, if he made it this far, he might make it to even past that.
Yeah.
It was kind of crazy because I was thinking about it. That because Reagan was older than Jimmy Carter, even though he was president after Jimmy Carter, and if he made it to 100, he would have still been alive in 2011, which I just think is kind of crazy because I think he actually died in 2000 something, the early 2000s.
Bonzo in his arms.
Yeah, Bonzo was there. He said his goodbye. That was really touching.
Yeah, sweet Bonzo.
Yeah, he let Bonzo run the Department of Health. Did you know that?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, times were good back then.
Yeah, it was
under Bonzo's.
Yeah,
health
I mean, he knew what
department.
he was doing. Bonzo was the Surgeon General. You know that?
Yeah, he's the one writing on all the alcoholic beverages.
Yeah.
That was his move.
Yeah, and Reagan blamed him for the AIDS crisis personally.
Yeah, he was a scapegoat a bit, but you know what? He held strong. He
Yeah, he told him he respected Ronald Reagan, but he had to tell him. They kind of ended on an icy relationship in his presidency, but when he was able to make his peace with him when he passed away.
He did it for the country. Yeah, they reconciled.
Bonzo could have lived to see Reagan's president because monkeys can live to 40 years, and bedtime for
Is
Bonzo.
that true?
Yeah, bedtime for Bonzo wasn't 40 years old when Reagan became president, so he might have lived. I mean, it's not like anyone told him about it, but.
Well, how old was Bonzo in the movie? Was he a child actor?
That's a good. Let me look it up. Let me just look up. Is there a record of bedtime for Bonzo?
Yeah,
who's
who's the chimp actor?
Yeah, so it was 1951 when that movie came out, and then I said there was a sequel, Bonzo Goes to College.
I didn't believe that. You spew so much bull sometimes. I don't know when you're telling the truth or not. Everybody believed you, dude, when you said that. Or no, everybody didn't believe you.
Yeah, and I was I lie about a lot of stuff.
No, yeah, everybody believes you when you said Nixon was also in bedtime for Bonzo, and that he was going to show up.
Or I said it also featured Jimmy Carter and George Bush, and then
I thought it was you were convincing,
Yeah, and then someone looked at me oh, you really did. They really were, and they did. Well, they don't even say they really were. They just kind of nodded, oh, I didn't know that. But no, they weren't in it because if they were in it,
the three presidents.
Yeah, all three of the Three Stooges or something.
Yeah, yeah.
But apparently Peggy played Bonzo, so let me see if I can just see
Peggy the monkey actor.
Peggy I think it was
actor?
a child named Peggy who was in an ape suit or something.
That's not true.
Peggy the monkey.
See, there you go again.
Monkey World fan. Okay, so this is the monkey wiki.
This is the wiki. Is that him?
This
Check
is
the
not the
check
same.
the photo.
Yeah, this is not because this is 1989 to 1991. Arrival at Monkey World. All right, so Bonzo was
pre Monkey World.
Well, he was filming bedtime. Okay, I won't go. I won't if I can't find anything here. But let me just read this. While he was on Reddit, it says on Our Presidents. While he was filming Bedtime for Bonzo in 1951, Ronald Reagan was tasked with wrangling his chimpanzee co-star Peggy for a scene. When he did so, Peggy grabbed his necktie and started choking him so strongly with it that a crewman had to come cut the tie off before he could be strangled to death. Oh my God!
He could have killed him. He could have killed our president.
A monkey did an assassination attempt against the president.
Oh my God!
Do you think Do you think a monkey did the last assassination attempt against Trump because like they screwed up so bad?
Yeah, this was Peggy's
Yeah.
son.
And then Ronald Reagan there's a photo of young Ronald Reagan,
Mm.
handsome guy, reading a
Yeah, he's a
book.
movie star.
Yeah, he was probably everyone gives JFK all the credit. Ronald Reagan, not to get political or anything, but he was probably the most attractive president. in his
Okay,
day.
who do you think's more charismatic?
I think honestly Reagan was probably more like
Yeah.
JFK was
He had that
really
grandfather.
charismatic too. Yeah, because
Yeah.
Reagan, because here's the thing, Reagan was charismatic as an actor, and then he was like, because he got reelected in like by like a large, a lot of that like people kind of like. I think like it was like even though like the economy had improved, like unemployment was like higher in 1984 than it was when he took office. I mean, it was going down just partially because like the recession was so bad, but most people who voted for him said it was because like the economy had improved, and so it's like that kind of shows like he was charismatic enough that he could like, I mean, not that they were that far off, but that like he could convince you like, he had the power to convince you to like if he said it like people would believe him, just not, and this was already by the point where like people were not just blindly trusting the government anymore, but he could convince you of something just by like telling you. So
Yeah, that grandfather kind of vibe.
like he had like a position of like,
well,
when he talks, people we all I'm saying this like we were alive when he was president, but when he talked, people like hung on the edge of their seat like
Yeah.
listening to his every
when
word.
you're looking at clips of him late at night, you're enthralled, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, we used a sound bite of him right at the beginning of the intro of him like,
Well,
and then
yeah, he
look
was
at
telling a
me.
joke. I just ripped the punchline out from the joke.
Yeah, he told a lot of jokes. He was kind of like, they say like George Bush and like Trump are like they're the funny guys, but like sometimes you can't really tell if they're trying to be funny. At least Reagan all the time he knew he was trying to be funny, and
Yeah.
like I think one day we'll like listen to some of his jokes and like judge how funny they were. But I'm
That'd
sure
be a great idea.
yeah, like he was a funny, like you could tell when he was trying to be funny, he like actually, it wasn't like he just screwed up, like he dropped something. He was actually funny. It's not like he pulled that epic stunt of like throwing up on the Japanese prime minister. Like when Reagan was trying to be funny, he actually was funny.
Yeah.
But
No, but yeah, Big Jimmy Carter.
yeah, Big Jimmy. Yeah, I kind of forgot we were talking about.
No,
this.
I was thinking about that. I mean, like they say, the job of the president is so stressful it takes like 20 years off, right? Like you see the before and afters of presidency, and it's
Yeah.
big respect because he's 100 now, and most
Yeah.
most normal people don't, right?
Yeah,
But he served as president.
yeah. Like I don't know what like how he's still like alive. I mean, not to be. I don't mean that. I don't mean that in like a mean. Yeah, I don't know how he's still alive. I mean that like I don't mean like to insult the guy, but just because he had a really stressful job. When he left, people weren't too happy with him, so it's like that probably hurt.
Did he get
you know?
reelected?
No, he lost to Reagan.
Oh.
Reagan, and he lost by a lot. Like a lot of people, and it was kind of weird because like the vast majority of that election cycle, if you look at the polls, people thought he was going to get reelected by like a landslide, and then Reagan kind of came in and like because people thought it was before people liked Reagan and they thought he was like too like extreme to be president.
You said, well.
Well, yeah, he talked to people and like he pulled the there you go again. To Jimmy Carter, and then he
Jimmy
won.
Carter.
he nearly pulled off like a 50-state sweep actually. So,
Oh.
and that's like the last time that happened. So, he Jimmy Carter lost and people weren't too happy with him when he left. So that probably like hurt. And then I'm saying it's like it all happened one right after the other, but then his wife died, and that sucks.
Then he went to his peanut farm.
Yeah, his peanuts went
Yeah.
sour. And
Yeah.
he didn't even and like his brother. Well, then his brother died. Well, that was before his wife died. But his brother died when he was like 50 or something.
Man, if we had a job for that, they would be overworked from the sentences you just
Yeah,
spewed out.
because Jimmy Carter, it's like his life is like all downhills, man.
Well,
feel
I don't
bad.
know.
I mean,
I
that
don't
wasn't
know
all-
about
like,
that.
I mean, he's still like he got elected president. He was president for 4, and he did some like he did some good things. I mean, we're not here to like debate his like legacy. Or whatever.
Yeah,
he did some good like whatever you think of him, he did some undeniably good things.
Oh, yeah.
He was like probably the sweetest fella to be president.
Okay.
Like he always seemed, and that was kind of what some people didn't like. They thought he was too like easy to push around or whatever. So he's a really nice guy to be president. And when we're talking about positives, he beat cancer actually at like 90. That's cool.
And he's 100.
Yeah, and so
I
he's
didn't
still.
know that.
There was this really The Onion did an article that was pretty funny. Where it was Jimmy Carter asked like, was there something specific I need to do to die? Because like you think like he's like really old and he's gone through it all and he's still alive and still
Yeah.
kicking. Like I think he could make it another year. He could make it to 101. I
Oh,
think he
yeah.
could. And that would be like completely because 100 is
He'll
like
set that record.
Yeah, because 101 will be like 100 years since his first birthday. So I'm kind of wondering. I mentioned that.
That's true.
I don't know if I mentioned on the show, but we were talking earlier about it. And it's that he asked Joe Biden to like eulogize him at his funeral, and I'm kind of wondering if that like offer is like passed. Just because I'm just saying because like had you asked me like a few months ago, I would have said no because he was running for it was when he was running for re-election, and if he was reelected, then it would still make. And even if he wasn't, like I'm gonna assume he doesn't want Trump to read his eulogy. So it made sense then, but it's like I mean he's probably gonna live to the next inauguration. So
Yeah.
is it still Joe Biden, or does he want like if Kamala Harris wins, does he want her to read the eulogy, or does he has he changed his mind and does he
will
want
tell.
Trump to read it? You know, I
Time
don't
will
know.
tell.
Or does he want our next president to after the next election of like
Yeah, I'll
Donald
probably
Trump Jr. or something?
Make it 115.
For real, yeah, 100. I think he's gonna outlive me. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind
He's like
of
a cyborg.
yeah. I think he's outlived like I may be wrong on this, but I think he outlived one of his children. Even I think I could be wrong, but
Oh,
like because his
wow.
children, he was one of those guys who had children at like the age we are now. He had children
Yeah.
already.
The old way.
Yeah, and so they're pretty old too. I mean, no offense to them, they're not like 100, but they're pretty old. Like they're close to like probably like older than like Trump maybe. So so yeah, I don't
But you know, you have those 8 children.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean
Back
so,
home.
Yeah. So I mean, so who knows? I mean, but Jimmy Carter, his 100th birthday.
Brush over that.
Good. Yeah, I mean, I don't.
Yeah, nothing to say.
I don't want to talk about it until like I can get like legal
I see.
representation. Yeah. But Jimmy Carter, happy birthday! You know, job well done as president, and I'm looking forward to when he runs in 2028 because he can still. You know, I mean, he could. I mean, it would be kind of.
Imagine him rolling up.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
I know it was like a goof or whatever, but when Joe Biden dropped out, there people saying like, "Who's Kamala Harris's running mate gonna be?" I was really
Jimmy
pulling for Jimmy.
Carter.
Yeah, because like, what is the vice pre- like legally? If you look at the Constitution, all the vice president's only literal job is like they have to vote. They have two. They have to swear in like new members of Congress, and they have to like do. But when there's a vote in the Senate, that's a tie. They have to break the tie, and then also. Well, I know I said there's 2. The third is also like just if the president tells them to do anything, they have to go do it.
Yeah.
So he can do that, you know. I mean, so why not? I mean, he's a nice guy. He lives in a swing state, you know. He can carry. I feel like if he was on the ticket, they could carry Georgia just because because Jimmy Carter. I think he narrowly carried Georgia both times he ran. Like even
really?
Yeah, because when he ran against Reagan won like. Let me just pull up the map and see how many states Reagan won.
Because I remember Reagan winning on a landslide, but
Yeah.
I didn't know it was against Jimmy Carter.
It was. So the map
Wow.
was all red except Minnesota, which I think was the vice president's home state at the time,
Yeah.
so that makes sense.
Hey, Georgia.
Georgia, West Virginia, because that was like a liberal state back, or like a Democrat state back then, and then Maryland, which is a Democrat state, and Hawaii, because those are like liberal states now.
Yeah.
So he won. Because it's kind of funny because when you look at like the actual votes, it was still by a lot that Reagan won, but not by like as much. Whereas compared, I mean, now we're just getting sidetracked. I'll say this and then we'll get off this topic. As compared to when he ran again, then he like Reagan nearly carried every state except Minnesota. And that Walter Mondale was from Minnesota, and that was the one state. And I read it. It's kind of crazy that it was so close in Minnesota that Reagan could have asked for a mandatory recount that his campaign wouldn't have to pay for. And maybe it would have. I mean, 4,000 votes is kind of a lot, so it's like it probably would have still gone to Walter Mondale. But
Yeah.
I mean, Reagan would have only done that if he was like a complete dick to be like, the one state your opponent will like recount that one. Like I want to carry that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so happy birthday, Jimmy.
I want to get all 50.
Yeah, he
That'd be so mean.
he had some joke once that was actually kind of funny where Christmas that year they asked him, what do you want for Christmas? And he said, well, Minnesota would have been nice.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
I gotta find that. I gotta sample that.
I don't think it's recorded. I think it was like a quote to a journalist or something.
Oh, I see.
But yeah, so that's funny. It would have been douchey if he was like
I
the one
know.
state he lost is like no, you can't have anything. Recount that one.
That'd be
you know?
respect though. That'd be pretty badass if you're like, yep.
Yeah,
Recount.
Take that one state. You know,
Was
Well-
the guy from Minnesota? His opponent?
Walter Mondale was from
Yeah.
Minnesota. Yeah.
Okay, so that's probably why. Yeah.
Yeah, Walter Mondale. He was really excited on election. He thought he could do it. But then
Yeah.
he looked. They're like, oh well, we got some good news and bad news. You did get Minnesota.
Well,
That was the only state you got. I'm sorry. So
Yeah.
well, rest in peace. To,
That was actually Reagan's official statement. Is he did that in the mic?
yeah.
He
Well,
pulled it out of his back pocket.
and it was kind of sad because Reagan's were all like the whoop, like they were all when
Yeah.
he was just announcing the results.
Oh yeah, it was the full crowd was
Yeah.
doing it.
And then Walter Mondale had to go out there and just be like, "Oh well, I'm sorry guys, So I got some bad news. We came pretty close, but unfortunately, just a few more of you."
Yeah, Mondale he held out his hand to Reagan, respect for the election. Then Reagan pulled out that from his back pocket and went,
Yeah. Yeah, and then people started cheering, and George Bush came in and put Walter Mondale in a headlock and freaking bodied him into a table.
Yeah.
So and he's recently passed too, Walter Mondale. So rest in peace.
Oh, rest in peace.
Well, not that recent. It was like years ago now, but more recent than Reagan, I'm sure. Like, because Reagan died like 20 years ago or something. But so I don't know. Maybe they've like all made up in heaven or something.
Yeah.
But and we'll make this one quick. Now that we're on the topic, did it? We won't go. I was really nothing to talk about. But did you watch the vice president debate the other day?
No, but I heard a lot. I heard it went very well.
Yeah, I heard it was
very cordial, very respectful.
Yeah, it was actually pretty good. I watched some of it. It was kind of like a mixed bag because all the polls I saw after the debate were it was like literally like I was kind of crazy. It was either all 50-50 one or like JD Vance won by literally like 1%. I think partially because like whatever you think of him, like not to get into like opinions on the guy or anything, but it's like he's like historically an unpopular choice for vice president. So I think a lot of people expected he was going to go in there and like completely screw up, but he did. Like not getting into like his policies, right? He did pretty good, like in terms of like rhetoric, like how he looked, and like he didn't go for personal. I don't think either of them really went for personal attacks much. I think like Tim Walz did like once or twice, but they were pretty good. They were respectful. Tim Walz, I felt kind of bad for Tim Walz because he looked really like sad the whole time. Like,
Was that true?
Yeah, like he looked kind of like Waldorf from the Muppets.
Oh no.
Let me find Statler and Waldorf from the Muppets.
Well, I hope everything was all right. You never know.
Yeah, he looked like that one. Like you take away the mustache. Like he just looked really sad a lot, and I don't know if it was like because I tuned in and out, so maybe he wasn't sad. Things weren't being discussed, but he just looked very sad. I mean, and I was gonna say he looked old, kind of, but then it's like you can't really say like considering the presidential candidates like a few months ago, you can't really say any of them look old without meaning it right now.
Yeah,
but. They both did a good job. I thought Tim Walz, I actually expected JD Vance might win by more. Like he might get like a 10% because I read some article from like CNN or something how Tim Walz was like upset about the debate because he's not good. He thinks he's not good at debating and because he was afraid it was going to be like.
Oh, maybe that's what it is. Yeah. Yeah.
And he was probably like pretty over prepared. Like I think you can kind of tell he was looking for opportunities to go for like attacks, but he just didn't really find any. So he didn't. The only line I remember. Or it's not really. There was like one line that was like reposted on social media, which was about like the January 6th or whatever. So it was kind of a draw. Like it was pretty much 50-50, and then like JD Vance, there were some polls where he was ahead, except for I guess both their favorability, like their approval ratings, went up after the debate, but Tim Walz went up by more. So that's kind of why it was like a draw. If it wasn't for that, maybe it probably would have been like JD Vance was like came out looking better. I mean, he probably came out looking better just because like. If this debate was like earlier in the season, like a month ago, and like it was not like they weren't officially nominated yet, and JD Vance screwed it up, I think Trump might have like said like you're done, you're off the ticket, because there was all those rumors. I don't think there's any truth to them because I think if he wanted to do this, he just would have done it. Yeah. That like once RFK or whatever endorsed Trump, he wanted to get rid of JD Vance on the ticket and put in RFK.
Oh really? I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, but I think it was all false because I think Trump would have just done that if he wanted to.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Why not?
Yeah, because it's like, I mean. Especially if maybe it was because it was after the convention and they already like officially nominated him or whatever. But I don't think like I don't know. I think he would have just done it if he wanted to do that. Yeah. But yeah, so
they could both campaign on bug eating, right?
Yeah, they both.
Didn't that happen?
RFK has eaten a dog before. He wanted to eat bear, like the whole bear story.
Oh yeah, I know the whole bear story. Yeah. He's a bit of a troll.
Yeah, I think people thought he was gonna try to eat whale, but I don't think it was like. He took like maybe I'm getting the story wrong, but the what they said was, and he admitted to it, so it's not like slandering the guy or anything. He there was like a whale carcass on a beach or something, and he took off the head with like a chainsaw or something.
And, he doesn't want to waste it.
And he drove back, and this is like 10 years, like the bear thing where it's like it was years ago, but people are just now finding it. It was like he admitted to it. He was like, yeah, I read him. No, it wasn't even him. It was like his daughter. It was like his daughter said like. Yeah, he came home and on the roof of the car there was a whale head strapped to the car and it stunk. It stunk so bad. And
it stunk so bad. Like doo-doo feces.
There was doo-doo feces all over the walls of the car and the door and it stunk so bad. So
yep.
They could have.
What did he do with the head? Did he mount it?
I honestly don't. I don't even remember anymore. It was like that. I think it was long enough ago. They were like, this is when he was still running. They broke this story. So. Like the bear, it was kind of funny how like RFK I remember like at least on social media, like a third of the news about the election before like Joe Biden dropped out was like RFK related stuff, which maybe makes sense because he was like, a candidate and like he wasn't gonna win obviously, but he like had like a decent like percentage of the vote.
Yeah.
And then as soon as Joe Biden dropped it, his like it's not even like his percentage of the votes decreased or anything, but it's just the only times I ever remember seeing news about RFK was stuff like that. Like it was nothing about like his
Yeah, it was just crazy stories.
Yeah, like because all the news was because the election looked pretty like kind of boring before that because it was just like a repeat of the last election, but
Yeah.
like 4 years later.
Yeah.
So RFK was one of the few like interesting things, like in terms of like
It was a little curveball.
yeah, and then like when Joe Biden dropped out and Kamala Harris was in, and it was like a historic thing, or because
Yeah.
like that's been so long since that happened. All the news was like none of the news was about RFK anymore, and when it was about like. RFK was caught like trying to bring an AK-47 into a high school. He never did that. But
Yeah,
it
I
was just
reckon I probably would have heard about that.
Yeah, and then he introduced like I remember he brought up the bear story like it's gonna be a bad story like when
It's gonna be.
because the New York Times or something was gonna break it and he was like it's gonna be a bad story. So yeah, but the vice president debate, there's not much more to say about that really. Just some funny like goofs and spoofs.
Yeah.
It wasn't even that really. It was just like it was a relatively like respectable.
Yeah, I heard it
debate.
was refreshing. That's what I heard.
Yeah, like I think some people think like those guys should be the ones running for president. Those two, which maybe like I think there's more excitement about Tim Walz than Kamala Harris personally, or there was for because he's like a progressive guy I guess. I mean he's kind of old. He's not like that. Well, he's like 60, so he's not super old. By politician standards, he's not that old. But
Yeah.
So I think there are people who think like maybe they should have like it's way too late now, but maybe we should like swap them all out, like just had those guys as the president candidates.
Throw an Uno.
I think
Uno card in there. A
I've
wild
told
card.
maybe I haven't told you before, but like we won't like probably talk about it for all that long because I don't want to be boring. But
Yeah.
before the election, I'm gonna probably like predict like what I think's
Let me
gonna
get
happen.
Josiah's prediction.
Yeah.
I can make a soundboard for that.
Yeah, and I think you should make a prediction too if you like have any idea of like what like I want to see who's like most accurate.
Yeah.
Because I predicted elections like in 2020. I predicted like who I thought was going to win, and I was right except for Georgia. I got wrong, and then in 2020 the midterms I was just completely wrong because I thought it was going to be like way more like the Republicans would win the Senate and the House by like a lot because that's kind of what the polls were leaning towards. So I'm probably going to be wrong with whatever I predict this time, but I predict if Donald Trump does win the election, I think JD Vance is going to be president at some point. Like I think it's either like Trump may die or resign, or
After.
like he'll do something so crazy that like he will get like removed from office or something. I don't know because I feel like if he gets in, then because I think the general prediction most people agree on are like the Senate and the House are probably going to both flip. Like I don't know if you read this kind of stuff,
No.
but because the Senate is like the elections, like the Democrats have more seats to defend by like a lot, and there's like at least there's one seat that West Virginia is held by a Democrat, surprisingly, despite that it's like the most conservative state. And it's pretty obvious it's going to like Joe Manchin's the senator, and he's like the Democrat who like a lot of Democrats don't like because he's like standing in the way of a lot of bills and stuff. And he's stepping down. So it looks like it's going to flip to the Republicans by like a lot now. And then all the other seats are kind of like, there's all the other seats, the polls right now kind of look like they're probably going to stay the same except for one. But it's like, but there's more that kind of lean Republican, so it's believed that no matter who wins the presidential election, the Republicans are going to win back the Senate. And then in the House, it looks like most likely, because the Republicans have such a thin majority and there's a lot more seats on the opposite side where like Democrats are leading, the Democrats will win back the House. So it's going to be like the chambers are going to be flipped. So that means that if Trump does win, then he's going to have a Republican Senate and a Democrat House. And I predict, they will probably try to impeach him pretty quickly just because they're like, well, Donald Trump's probably going to get impeached pretty quickly.
I don't know.
Depending on where you lean, like that's if you're a Democrat, it's
I don't know
bad.
about that.
I don't know. Like it's bad for I guess no one wants it. Like no one wants a president to get impeached. So I guess that's we'll say it's a negative. But it's he'll get. I don't know. He'll leave the toilet seat up or something. He'll do something crazy, and so he will probably. I think it's if he gets elected, it's pretty much guaranteed he'll get impeached again. It's just up for debate if he's going to get taken out this time.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, we got a lot to look forward to. I guess. We got a lot to look forward to.
I would love a scandal like that.
He leaves the toilet seat up.
And then he gets impeached.
Yeah, I think.
I did not leave the toilet up.
I did not leave that toilet seat.
I did not.
Yeah. I think
That's good.
Joe Biden almost got impeached for that. It was crazy.
Yeah, yeah. I heard murmurs of that.
Yeah, he left the toilet seat up and yelled at Mike Johnson like, "Listen, fat, you were in there. You were in there after me, so why didn't you put it down?"
They settled it over a push-up competition, and if that didn't happen, it probably would have gone to the Senate. Yeah.
Yeah, they have to debate who could do the most push-ups because neither of them were really like.
Look, fat. Look.
The House always kind of like turned their heads and weren't really looking.
Yeah.
They have to review the footage and decide who did the most push-ups.
Yep.
Yeah.
They arm wrestled at one point.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was pretty crazy. And Joe Biden was like, "All right, no more Mr. Nice Guy," or some other kind of like older guy.
No more Mr. Nice Guy.
And he like takes off his like button shirt and
Yep.
like Mike Johnson says some sort of like, "I'm gonna beat you like a some southern thing." Or
Some southern.
He doesn't
thing.
really talk like it, but he's from Louisiana, so he has to have like
He's
some.
deep, deep south.
Yeah. So he said like, "I'm gonna beat you like a."
Like a crawfish.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
I mean, you're more
I don't know
southern
anything
than me, so
Louisiana.
I'm
I
sure
don't
you
know
could-
anything.
Yeah.
No.
My grandpa was from Louisiana. He didn't teach
Oh, is
me
that
one-
true?
Yeah, and he didn't teach me one thing like that.
Dang. He didn't teach you about crawfish.
He didn't say anything about crawfish or like
Mm.
I'm gonna run faster than a hare on a hot day. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm making these up now.
Yeah.
Mike Johnson's gonna hit him with a like, "You might be a redneck if you find yourself."
That'd be a good segment. We should come up with southern sayings, like fake
Yeah.
ones.
Exactly. That would be fun.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
We'll get on that.
Exactly. We got to get to that. So, congratulations to Tim
Yeah,
Walz and JD Vance or
congratulations. One
whatever
more round
for-
of applause
Yeah,
for
one
Jimmy.
more round of applause for
Great
for
discussion.
the notorious JD and the notorious Timmy.
Yep.
Tampon Tim is what they call him.
Mhm.
And he's kind of adopted that nickname, so like it's